Afternoon, Patrick.
Hey, John.
How's it going?
Ooh, maybe I'm on mute. Maybe that's the problem. There we are. Now I can hear. It's on my end. How
There
you
you
doing?
go. Oh, not too bad. Yeah, I'm working, so I'm in someone's home. So it's actually like an actual lived-in residence. So
Gotcha.
I do kitchens.
Oh,
So,
okay.
yep.
Right on. Is
So,
that so? That's what you're using the M2 for?
um,
Yeah.
not exactly. I don't use it to exactly end up making like components or parts and anything for kitchens. I do it more for jigs and other miscellaneous things. I got a van rebuild that I'm wanting to redo some of the shelving and so forth on the inside
Nice.
with it. So yeah,
Awesome. Very
yeah.
cool. What are you doing for the kitchen work there?
Today is punch list day. They got the countertops done yesterday, so I did all of the cabinets. This one, it was all of the removal, installation of cabinets, modification of some duct work to get their microwave vented out. I'll have
Hmm.
the microwave to install today, all the finished plumbing, door handles, various different things. I'm in the process of trying to, let's see here. I got a, they got a receptacle. Normally, since it's going through a finished panel,
Hmm.
uh, they usually end up having us do it.
Gotcha.
So the electrician doesn't mess up a finished panel.
Right. Right on.
They're a little pricey. So I mean,
Yeah.
I think that finished panel is several $100s. So you really don't want somebody to make a mistake with it. So
Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
Cool. Right on. Good stuff. All right. We got Dawn on here and we got Dustin. What's up, guys?
Good morning.
Morning, morning. How's it going?
It's cold.
Right?
That's a nice picture of you there, Dustin.
Thanks. That was my 2020 pandemic. I'm going crazy picture.
Yeah. Which, when you look back on it now, you're like, man, that's relatively sane compared to where I am today.
Oh yeah, I'm a lot rougher now.
Yeah. Exactly. I've seen some things, man. Don, how are you doing? You on there, Don? You're on mute if you're talking. Maybe he's just away. We got Casey in. What's up, Casey?
Hey, everybody.
Hey, hey. How's it going, sir?
Oh, another fine day in Happyville. I'm in IT hell.
Ooh, fun. With who?
Oh, help desk. We're trying to move SharePoint OneDrive files, but the the file's been open for 4 years. So there's like 30,000 files in that one folder in OneDrive. So it's like they told me, here, just click this. So I did that, and I have to move it to my OneDrive file. So it's been sitting here for, I don't know how long, just spinning, and it's moving one folder. It was like, oh yeah, it's going to take 2 days to move one folder.
Jeez. Gosh, I have enough trouble with OneDrive as it is without having 30,000 files in it. So
Yeah, and that's one folder in my OneDrive file. What about all my other folders, right? It's like, son of a, it's crazy.
I've got this fun thing with my OneDrive where it just, like, no matter how many times I sync and reconnect, it's like it just doesn't understand that it's connected. Like, it says cannot upload or cannot save, but then I go look at the OneDrive folder and there it is. It's just hanging out. And so then I get, it's got the auto save feature. So then, like, every 30 seconds, it's like cannot save, but it's popping up. It's showing. So I was like, super
Bill
weird.
Gates, I come to the realization that Bill Gates hates me. So, what the hell? I think
I'm on a Mac, so he definitely hates me.
It's a personal vendetta. My new computer is a Windows unit. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'll go back to a Mac. This thing sucks.
Yeah. Right on. We got dr at therusnacks.com.
Yeah, the Russ next. How's it going? Yeah,
good.
just listening in.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for joining. Cool. All right. Well, we got a crew here. What's new in M2 world, or anybody got any challenges? I know we've got somebody who's supposed to be joining here shortly, who I was just talking to on the phone. He's got some Excel frame setup challenges. But Dustin, how's the loom coming?
It's doing pretty good. I've cut everything out that I can. Now it's trying to get some time on a 3D printer to be able to print some of the extra pieces to make it work.
Are you trying to do that like at a maker space?
Yeah, there's the libraries in my town have a maker space, and they've got several laser cutters, several 3D printers. They've got a large format printer. They got sewing machines, all sorts of stuff. But trying to get on a 3D printer is like you get on at midnight and then you hit refresh and you hope that you get it just in time, because there must be dozens of us trying to click through.
Oh,
Yeah.
It's like I thought this was the Rolling Stones ticket line or something.
Yeah, kind of. It is like that.
Right? That stinks. Well, if push comes to shove, let us know, Dustin. You could flip us the files and we could end up mailing them to you for one time, right?
Yeah, that might be something I have to do.
We've got a whole printer farm set up in the office, because
you guys just need a website that says, hey, send us your files and you'll print for us. Kind of like
we probably should do that.
What is one of those companies? I can't think of some of those online companies.
Just a rapid prototyping.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if somebody owns an M2 or something like that, you could give them a discount, right? You could do it for them at a discount for being a community, friend. And if it's just somebody out there, well, then you charge them a little extra because, they just, yeah.
Or you can get the members discount for only $11.98.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, we actually just inked a deal with a B2B deal with a government contractor to manufacture the housings for a dash cam. I can't get into much more about it, but we've been working on that to try and get. I don't have any other components here, but we've been manufacturing all these components for them and looking at going into actual production in the printer farm, along with our laser components and stuff that we're doing right now too. So it's pretty lucrative.
How many printers you got in your farm?
12 or 16. I can't remember what it is now. I think we're spinning up 16 right now, but once production starts on this unit, which we're expecting in the next couple months, we're probably going to need at least 24 of them. So yeah, they're definitely. So Drew has been working for the last week to get every single one of them like exactly the same, print scaling. So I think they're within like 1/10 of a millimeter of each other. So we essentially have interchangeable components now. But he had to get that done too, because we are about to launch, I think today or tomorrow, our laser only module. So it'll be essentially the old jumpstart kits with a do board and the JTech laser attached for $10.98. So basically getting a jumpstart plus a laser and then a free do board in the process, same price kind of thing. So we're hoping we can get some laser engravers, some of the laser engraver communities over on that. Obviously be a pretty large format laser engraver for not the worst price in the world, right? Pretty decent. So anyway, we're printing out a ton of components at this point. It's been pretty fun. We're hiring an intern to manage the print farm for us going forward. It's kind of cool.
Yeah. So it won't have a Z axis on it. It's fixed, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's just a fixed laser module on a sled.
Exactly. So I can show you all an image of it here if you give me just one sec. Going through all my Slack channels here. Let's see. Where'd hardware development go? There you are. Ah, there it is. Okay. Let's see if we can find a good picture for y'all. Here we are. Expand that. Bring it over here. And oh, hey, Mike.
Yes, sir.
Hey, can you enable screen sharing for everybody?
Let me see.
You should be able to. It should be that up arrow next to the share screen button, and then click advanced settings.
It doesn't even have me. It has me to sign in. I can sign in as a host. Chat.
You're not signed in as the host either.
No, I'm not.
Bummer.
Let me see.
Yeah, let me tell you what, guys. I'm gonna sign back in as the host here. Give me 1 minute. I'll be right back.
How's it going, Matt?
It's good. Sorry, I was a little late, but I got meetings and stuff today.
Hey, no worries. You look like you're nice and warm in there.
This is a good weather. I'm okay with this temperature.
What's the temperature at right now where you're at?
I think it's in the high 40s. So, yep. Casey's not freezing in his garage. We live kind of near each other.
No, it's kind of chilly today, but I am wearing shorts and flip-flops in my garage.
All right.
You guys are all talking about chilly. It's about 10 degrees here.
Yep.
I don't know. I'm flying to Dallas tomorrow, riding a motorcycle back to LA, and I'm used to LA weather, so I'm gonna freeze my nuts off.
Well, you're coming down here to Texas just during the worst 2 days of winter. It's supposed to be 28 tomorrow night and 31 the night after that.
So
Yeah.
that's what I hear. Yeah.
Yeah. Good luck, Don. Wear your chaps.
Yeah, you can call me Don Sickle.
Yeah, wear your chaps, man.
Hey, Mike, can you sign in as host real quick?
Yeah, let me try it real quick.
Thanks.
Get
Don't let me do it.
on. I'm getting on my PC though, on my MacBook real quick.
Sweet.
Have you guys ever tried doing the reclaim host? So if you end up going into your participant and usually in the settings, there should be a reclaim host.
Claim host. Ooh.
Or claim host or reclaim the host. And so you should be able to end up.
Enter host key. Well,
Yep. So your host key would have been usually a 4 to 5 digit key that you would have done when you guys ended up setting up the account. So, I mean, it allows you to be able to reclaim it in case, somebody else signs the hopes you can end up retrieving it back.
All right, I'm on as a host now.
Okay,
So,
sweet.
share content. All right. And then what do I do here?
So on the up arrow next to share screen, there should be like an advanced.
Okay.
And then it should be like sharing options. It should say only hosts can share and click all participants can share.
Screen. No, that's something else. Because I have mute, start video, share content, and then participants, and then more.
Yeah. So see, do you see it says share screen?
Shares, yes.
Okay. There's an up arrow next to share screen for you since you're the host.
I don't see that. But what I can do is do this. Hold on.
Why don't you share your screen?
I don't know why it's not letting me. Let's see.
Hey, Mike, share your screen. For me.
Share it. Okay.
Yeah, share your screen.
Share screen. Start broadcast. All right, you see it?
Oh, you're on your phone. Okay. Click more there.
More. Okay.
Meeting settings.
Okay, meeting settings here.
Lord. Yep. It's not showing it.
That's part of the problem. When you end up signing in on a cell phone, it gives you limited. You
Oh
would need
my
almost
gosh.
minimally like a tablet over a computer for Zooms. Sorry, I'm in Zoom meetings about 3 to 4 times a week. So for the last 2 years, so it's
Let's see.
yeah.
Yeah.
And plus, Matt, your battery's almost dying.
Let's see. Stop sharing. Patrick, send me the password to the Zoom. I can do it on mine, but send it to me on Slack.
Yeah, I don't have it.
Ah,
All right, guys. Wow. This is rough. Okay, we're gonna get there. One sec, guys. We're gonna get there.
Zoom. Okay, here we go. I think I got it here. Fill in. All right. I think I got it on my PC now. There we
Okay.
go. Hold on. I'm in. Home. And then meetings start. I think this is it. You're
Good morning.
Hold on.
How's it going?
Oh,
Let me hang
man.
up on this one real quick. Hold on.
Yeah, having some
And-
technical difficulties right now, Lauren, but we're getting there, I think.
Actually, Patrick, it just looks like it reverted back and it says that you're host now.
It does say I'm host now.
Yes.
Hey,
A lot of times it'll sit there and kick off to one of the next. Yeah. There you
gotcha.
go.
All right, well, now I can share my screen. So check it out. This is what the laser only module is going to look like. So if I can zoom out here.
That's the 7 watt.
No. So
That's
it's still the
2.8 watt.
2.8 watt. But
Yep, that could be an upgrade kit. You could use a 2.8 watt on it because you're no longer, well, yeah, I don't know. You still wouldn't be able to cut with the 7 watt though, because now you don't have any Z axis. Yeah.
right. So what we're doing right now, Casey, is we're actually working on developing our own. So so we've got a 7 watt that is essentially, for all intents and purposes, just about done testing. And then we're going to slowly start upping the wattage. I'm looking to get us up to a 12 is my target, because I really want it to be a true laser cutter. But yeah, so this launches today or tomorrow. And yeah, as you can see, it's going to just be the laser mounted directly to the sled. So really easy to use. Obviously, like, guys, like when we're talking about milling, tabbing versus inside the line versus outside the line, there's just like a lot of work and added challenge when it comes to milling with the M2 versus laser engraving with the M2. So this is designed to be a much more accessible point of entry. And honestly, like the size of laser engraving market versus the size of CNC market, it's actually 2x when you look at like overall search volume. It's pretty big. So hoping that we can capture some more folks with this module, and then like a paint by numbers version, especially for like old school woodworkers who are really used to creating templates and jigs for hand routing afterwards. This can be just a nonstop templatizer for subsequent cutting out with a hand router like your DeWalt or Rigid or whatever it may be. So really excited about this one.
Yeah, that could be pretty good for those people that own like the sign companies, right?
Exactly. Yeah. All right, cool. Well, we got our tech problems sorted out. So who has any support questions or challenges that they're going through this week on any projects? Not in this group, right?
This group is the group that helps other people solve
Yeah.
their problems.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly right. Casey, have you given the folks an update? I guess last week you gave them an update, right, on the frame.
Yeah, I did. I just sent you a text about, I don't know if you guys can see this. Let me zoom out a little bit. So let me kind of show you here real quick. I'd love to have everybody's feedback. Let me flip my screen around here. You guys will just have to zoom in on my screen.
Yep, no, we can see it. You're featured here.
Okay, so you see where I have the two blocks, one here and then one here. This is the motor mount.
Yeah.
This one over here was that chain lock, the lock, I call it the chain lock block, right? Because it locks the chain in. The nice thing is you can literally grab that and just pull on it and just readjust the pin, but the block stays the same, right? So it's easy to adjust your chains and find that sweet spot. So if you go like this, you can literally just grab the chain here and pull it, and you can adjust your pin and then put it back. So it allows for that. But the problem is it sticks out too far. And with the new pulley system, I get to where I don't have enough travel for myself to run all the way across a 4x4 frame. So, I don't know, last night about 2 o'clock in the morning, I know it's stupid. I get up and I start working on stuff, but this is what I started working on. So I just reimagined the whole damn block, the motor mount. So here it is. The motor mount has the chain lock in it. There it is.
Got it. So Casey, on this front, so when we're designing, we're currently working on all the frame calibration for the new 2.0 Makerverse, right? And I can show you all pictures of that too. It's gonna be exciting. But the challenge I had when I was calibrating the mini frame is that, to your point about getting that sweet spot, I could never find for a full 4x4 on a 6-foot top beam, I could never find a sweet spot. I had to reduce the expectation to a 2x4 in landscape orientation, not even in portrait orientation, but in landscape orientation. That was the only way I could get it to truly work and keep tension in the spring without slack or excess tension occurring somewhere.
That's exactly what I'm working on right now. So with this design, with this design right here, as you can see, it'll slide on the 2060 here. You put your chain in this hole. It comes out the other side and you just put the pin in here. So the chain will actually come out and droop down. You can roll up your chain here. So it'll be the same thing. You'll be able to just pull the chain straight through to find that spot. But the nice thing is if you're looking at this frame over here, I go right back to the original design, well, the original parameters, to where my nail isn't here. My nail is out here past the chain.
Gotcha.
You see what that does?
Yep.
That's almost like, see, the thing is I will be able, it's like on your board, your wood top beam, the old wood top beam. Imagine being able to put the nail past the chain sprocket. There's no wood there. You couldn't do it,
right,
but you
right.
would if
You're
you had
tapping
an
and
8-foot. Yeah, so it's almost like having an 8-foot beam.
So I'll be curious to see how it works, because I even tried all the way. I mean, I put that nail, like at the within an inch, half an inch probably of the edge of that top beam. And I still had a ways to go. It felt like I needed another 1.5 feet or something in total width, like really like an 8-foot top beam to get the job done. Could be wrong though. Could be.
So on this, I was playing around with it and moving it. You can't see it, but I have the chain, the pulley is all assembled. But I was able to move this, get my bit about this far on my board, all the way around.
Nice. Heck
So you're never going to cut off of your full, if you put a full 4x4 on there. Remember, I don't have any skirts on this, so
right.
You're never going to cut all the way through the side or the edge, because that's not how you do CNC. You should cut out centerpiece. You can leave a thin piece on the edge, right? Scrap. But I'm able to get up there to an inch or two away from the edge of a 4x4 board on all four sides. So all I have to do is move that chain back. But the nice thing is too, is by doing this, it strengthens the motor mount even more. It was strong enough now. I'm running it the way it is, but now I even make it thicker because I got to put the chain in it. The chain is 10 millimeters thick. So it actually thickens up the motor mount, makes it stronger, and it encases the motor itself and moves the chain all the way past the end of the top beam. So I think it's going to be it's 10 times better design than this, right?
So I got a quick question. Is the problem is the spring is too long in the center? Is that
no, the problem? Yeah, kinda. Yeah.
Because I was looking at your design, Casey, and I was like, man, that is, to me, my first instinct was like he over-engineered the shit out of this thing with the pulley system. I was impressed, but I was like, also like, this is a lot of engineering that went into it. Because when I first saw it, that cable that you had running that holds the bricks immediately reminded me, I don't know if you've ever used one, the old radial arm saws. What they did was they basically attached a cable, because as you know, as you pull the radial arm saw, it has a risk of pulling into you, right? So what they did is they started attaching a cable to the radial arm saw that was basically ran back into the base like a tape measure would. And it kept tension and kept the saw from running away.
Yep.
Is there a way to do a small block of two of those tensioning with the cable running? Because then the chain would essentially be 6 inches wide and would be allowed to flex, just like you would have those quick extensions for the headphones. You know what I'm talking about? Where you zap them out, zap them in. It's just a tape measure effect with that cable. Because you could build one of those about 6 inches across. You would have to have one of those. I can't think of what the spring is called in it. But yes.
Yeah, the problem is the springs like that aren't off the shelf springs.
No, you'd have to order them, but you can bulk order them for sure.
Let's see, with this right here, it's just some PLA and of course my 5mm bolts.
No, I saw how you did it, because at the end of the day, I was like, you made it work, because that's essentially what you did is you ran it over the top of this, and the brick just keeps tension on the cable. But my instinct was like, man, if you could make that, I can't think of what that spring is called. You're more educated than I on that. But that spring tensioning system, it works just like a tape measure or anything else, like a winding spring.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to think about that. I mean, this design right here, to be honest with you, out of everything I thought of, this was the simplest design that I could think of. So it looks like it's over-engineered, and you know what? For me, yeah, it probably is.
I mean, it's not necessarily over-engineered. It's just, it was like, man, he really ran that spring up, because I was trying to figure out what the problem was that he was getting rid of, and I see what the problem is. He used the standard long spring. At some point, the spring compresses all the way, and now that it's just hanging slack. So
yeah, you need enough spring to hold tension on it, but because you have a shorter top beam than that 10 or 12 foot top beam for a standard XL frame, with the shorter frame with a 6 foot top beam, you would literally have to get something like almost a 3. You'd almost have to have a spring that's half the length of the standard spring.
Well, that's the kind of thing about springs, though, is there's only so many off the shelf sizes you can purchase with springs.
That's right. That's right.
And the thing is, you go in and buy a bunch of weird ones, but it's hard to get those, especially without spending an arm and a leg.
But the thing is, if you get a spring that's half that length, we're only 2 foot shorter than an XL frame here. We're at a 6 foot top beam. We're not, it's not like we're going down to a 3 foot. We're at a 6 foot top beam. So if you get half of the length of spring and you put it up there, when you move this thing all the way to the bottom, it snaps the spring. I already tried it.
That's what I'm saying. That's the challenge, because now you're fully extended. And that's where I was saying
it's too short.
I don't know. If there was anybody that could design a tensioning system like that, with it, just like you do a pull start on a lawnmower, one of those springs, that same concept with the cable, I was like, yeah, it would have to be Casey could design it. Because it's really not that complicated. It would just be a lot more, because literally you would make it on a box that just slid over your top beam and sits in the middle.
Yeah, the whatever you do. So I thought about they have. I actually downloaded one and tried one from Thingiverse. The plastic that's rolled around. It's called a clock spring. So I tried one of those from Thingiverse, and after I pulled it a couple of times back and forth, it just sagged. It wouldn't hold the weight. So you literally have to have that thing made out of a thicker spring steel. Yeah, you'd have to have that thing made out of a thicker spring steel to handle that like a lawnmower. And I thought, well, you know what? I'll just use one from a lawnmower. Yeah, right. They're $19 a spring.
Really?
Yeah, they're pricey. So it's like,
I was
holy
about to
cow.
Google how much a box spring costs.
Yeah, they're expensive for the diameter and the tension that you needed. It's pricey.
I should have known you probably put this through.
Have you all ever heard of a constant tension line? It's so Lauren, where you're going with it, I thought the same thing. About that clock spring, and one of the pieces that I've been playing with nonstop, I stole some from a factory in China when I was visiting, is they use these things called constant tension lines, where if you've got a power drill or something, like if you're drilling things in on a 3D printer all day, right, like that gets heavy over time. And so this thing just hangs from the ceiling, right, and you just dial it in, the tension, to the exact weight of whatever it's holding. So no matter where you put and stop, it just freezes right there in midair, right? It's really helpful. So I've been trying to play with that concept and see how we can use it for tension on the on chain slack.
Well, they actually have a different it's called a hook spring, but it's a spring, it's a regular spring, and it has a piece of metal that goes in all the way through the spring, makes a loop on the end, goes all the way back through the spring, and on this end there's an eye, and then over here you have that hook. And what you do, put it on here, you hook it on here. When you pull on this eye, it compresses the spring with the two loops. And you can get those in different tensions, but I use those in a lot of military applications because they're usually thicker, stronger, tougher, right? But with this thing, I can't find one light enough because literally you need like 4 pounds of pull.
Gotcha.
So it's not a lot, but at the same time, I thought the clock spring was over engineering it a little bit there.
Yeah.
So I just went back to this, but I have thought about going off the top of changing the pulley centerpiece and putting another one that's horizontal like that above it and running it. So here, let me show you this. After I just re-engineered this today, now I'm thinking maybe I should take another look at this. So right now I have the cable comes from here, goes over, in, around, and down. So I have 2 pulleys that sit like this. It goes in, up, and over, and down. I was thinking about taking another one like this and just putting another one here so you have 2 flat ones. So the spring could come in, the wire could go up, go back over here to the end on top. We can have it printed to where it, right here, there's another pulley, and it comes over and just comes down the side. Then your weights are on the side corners, and you can easily get to them.
And I love the simplification process. I'm going to share my screen here again and show you all one other thing. So for context, Casey, and this, I've been working on this forever, so I'm really excited to show everybody. But this dovetails directly into this conversation. All right, can y'all see my screen? All right.
Yep.
Oh, check it out. This is starting into this month, or I think probably we'll move into this version of it next month. But these are 15-foot chains, and this is the new version of the 15-foot chains that we're going to be launching. So for context, orange is XL, blue is standard, and yellow is mini frame. So Casey's frame size. So when you get your frame going forward, we'll be launching with Makerverse 2.0, which everybody will have access to. Be a lot simpler, a lot less buggy, all the challenges we're dealing with. We're starting completely from scratch. So you'll get your box and you'll go, okay, it'll say, do you want to build an XL standard or a mini? And you follow the frame instructions. And then when you go to hang your chains, right here where you see the three, let's say I'm building an XL frame. So I'm using the orange chains. My motor sprockets, my cotter pin goes between these 3 orange dots right here. And then my 12 o'clock motor sprocket goes between these 2 right here. If you just set that there and you build the frame to spec, that sled will then fall right into the very center point of your wasteboard. You tell it, set the distance from the top of the wasteboard to top of sled, and then your one edge calibration, and you should be sub 2 millimeter accuracy just on the edge calibration. So I'm hoping that this ends up being way simpler. But what we're doing, Casey, why this is important for your end is our solution for chain slack is that the slack exists on the sled side rather than the spring side. So we actually end up pulling all the slack through the motor brackets and then cotter pinning and then just zip tying up there, which is great, right? It just adds a little bit more weight. It doesn't do anything but give you beneficial weight. So with that as the practice, are there any potential adjustments to your design? To me, it's just I put the cotter pin at the very end of the chain, or your motor bracket point. You've just put the very end in rather than having slack hang down there through your bracket, and your chain slack comes out and still hangs out through the end. And in that way, I'm trying to make sure that your frame is exactly going to fit with our instructions and that they talk the same language for the user. But any challenges you see there?
I don't know. You'd have to send me a set of the chains so I could put them on, and because my brain is telling me that if you put the chains on backwards, then you get the other end on the sled the way mine is. If you put it on the other way, you get the slack at the sled and not at the top. So I'm thinking to myself, why couldn't I just put the chains on backwards?
You could. The only challenge you then run into is if the user is looking at the 2 spot here for a cotter pin, they could put the cotter pin in here, or they could put the cotter pin in here, and you're off by 1 link there, potentially. So then we just have to gauge whether or not that could create challenges that the user can't get around in terms of calibration accuracy. Right?
So
I don't know.
So would you technically just end up having like a left hand and a right hand chain?
That's
So
exactly
the
right.
left hand chain would end up having certain colors printed on one side. The right hand chain would have certain colors printed on one side. You would end up having to tag each chain. This one's left, this one's right.
Well, what we do here is we mark the sled end in black, right? And so then as long as
The
your
colors
chain
have to
colors
face
are
you.
facing you, then you're not
Yeah.
going to get it wrong.
Yeah, see, for me, I would put the cotter pin in the little double yellow piece there. Go ahead and slide it into the motor mount, slide it over through the sprocket. Yeah.
So
And
what I
back
think we
up.
want to do, Casey, is I think this is really good context because like you and I both know, we all know in this group how valuable that frame is going to be to new users, right? And Matt, we'll get you here in just one sec. But ideally the process is the same, right? And I think we could probably get it to where you pull the slack through and it still does the thing, right? Because ultimately you're just trying to solve a tension issue that's occurring at the top while still reaching the full 4x4 square. Whether your slack is on one end or the other end, you're still dealing with the same amount of distance limitations that are causing the issue.
Yeah, like I said, I think I gotta, from a design standpoint, I literally think, because the chain, whether it's 15 feet from here, over, down, and over, it's still 15 feet from here, over, up, and back.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? So who cares if I take and put, my 2 up here, the 2 dots for the yellow, let's say I'm doing the yellow, right? My 2 dots, if I go ahead and put a pin in that and then slide it through my motor mount where the chain block is until I hit that, loop it through the little roller sprocket and the chain link, roll it back around, and wherever that, wherever the 3 dots are on the yellow, that should go on my sprocket on my motor.
Right.
And then down, and where that black spot then, that ends up going on my sled.
So again, though, the challenge I see there is just that because your cotter pin has 2 pieces and your motor sprocket is 1 point, right? That's why we got 3, because you need 3 because you go between the 2 outside dots, right? And the cotter pin goes there. But if you're on the double one, they could go potentially to the wrong side. And same for the motor sprocket. If there's 3 and they've only got 1 12 o'clock pin, they could put it in one or the other. And so that leaves a little bit of room for variability that may not be able to be made up in the edge calibration, if that makes sense. It probably could,
Yeah.
but just a thought.
Well, I can tell you this, you guys seen my Facebook post on the edge calibration that I did earlier on mine? I mean, it was spot on. To be honest with you, all I did was I measured from one end of the chain to the other, and I put them both the same. And that's where I stuck the pin, up at the motor mount. So I guarantee you I was probably off a link or 2.
Yeah.
You know, I was kind of concerned about it. But once I did the calibration and laid everything out, it took it up. I mean, it was more than sufficient.
Well, I'll probably end up getting you some a set of these chains so you can test it. Actually, I'll definitely get you a set of these chains so you can test it out, because I really want to make sure that we're speaking the same language more or less to the customer. And if they're moving from one frame to another, it doesn't matter too much. Matt, what was your question you had there?
Yeah, I bought the 15-foot chains on I think it was a Black Friday sale or something, and it doesn't have these markings on it. So when you do come out with these, could you also put maybe in some of your documentation, I know it's tedious, but maybe count the links and tell me which link they are so that I could mark my chain appropriately as well, or for those of us who already have the 15-footers.
You want that document right now?
All right. Yeah. I mean, just, obviously you're going to sell these and that's great, but I would like to be able to mark these on my chain if at all possible. And if you just gave me a number or reference to get it, I'd be happy with that.
You want the XL frame ones?
Yeah. Yes, I do. I'm building an XL frame, but anyways, when you release these, just maybe put a little in the documentation. Okay. The yellow marks are at this and the orange marks are at this number of links, and and I'll sit there and count my chain and do it. I just need to know the number is all.
Let me here, I'll pull this up too so you all can see what this has taken months to get it out.
Sure.
But you all can see this now. I'm not sharing anything proprietary here. Okay, so this, I mean, this took forever. Okay, so for your XL frame,
yep,
your cotter pin link count is at cotter pin link 72 and 73. So I'll send this to you, Matt, but I'm just trying to give a quick overview here.
Yep.
So you can see the color denoting, and so it's 72, 73, and then link 397. Now, what is the best way to assert that from a dotting standpoint? I think, yeah, because they just do it on the full count now, so I need to just delete that.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was on the half, and
I'll
our factory changed it. But yeah, so really what you would need to do though is if you're going to use these dims here or these counts, then you also need your motor offset and your wasteboard offset, your frame dims to be exact.
Got
right?
it.
So the purpose of this document is so that it pairs with the new frame guide that we got. So the user goes through and builds the frame, and then in the firmware and in the software, we've got all these offsets already pre-baked, so nobody has to do it. You just hang it, right? And then you go, did you do the thing? And you go, yeah. And it's like, okay, well, you're good to go then. Right.
I think that's a great idea, and I think that will really help out new users. I just want to be able to keep up. So
yeah, 100%. Absolutely. So yeah, when the frame guide is done, I will send this to you. But also, Matt, you can do this for your own purposes, right? So when you go through the process, you get your motor sprockets at 12, right? You get calibrated and everything. Like mark those spots on the chain. Like that's what that pin in there is for.
Yep.
This is just a way for us to standardize that process so it's not as touchy-feely as it is today.
Understood. I agree. And I think that's a great upgrade. And I think you should do that. And I do have the red pen, but I just took my regular chains off and I just mounted my 15-foot ones. And I counted how many links to the motor there were, just to make sure those both were even when I was stringing it up. So, but yeah, I'll definitely do that with my pen, and I've got that little red pen. I'll mark my chains, but I just want to know what numbers to do. So thank you.
So yeah, the only thing, yeah, absolutely. The only thing that document was built out for back-end coding for our software engineer. It wasn't designed for the user. So what I'll just have to add are the frame is exactly the same as the current frame, except for the height of the top beam for all three frames. On all three frames, the top beam is elevating slightly. So let me get you a revised document. Matt, what's your email?
It's mbruzek@gmail.
BRUZEK?
Yep. At gmail.com. Yep.
Okay, I got you on here. I've got John as well. Anybody else want to be connected on this document?
Yeah, that'd be great. I just changed my name though. It's DR at the rest. I'll send you. I'll change it back. Hold on.
Yeah, tell you what, guys, drop in the chat direct to me if you want your email address, and I'll flip this to you. Because honestly, this is going to be great. This will be like more or less beta testing for me. And it works with current version of Makerverse as well. Right. Pretty straightforward. Okay.
So question for you,
Yeah.
Patrick. When is the new version of Makerverse estimated?
We were shooting for Jan 1. We had a lot of things come up at the end of last year that prevented that. So right now, my best guess, so we were trying to shoot to coincide the launch of 2.0 with these new versions of the kits that will exclusively include the 15-foot chains, those colored 15-foot chains. That's proving to be challenging too. So what I'm going to do is create one more variant of this designed for the existing chains, the 11-foots that we have right now. So that will allow us to launch sooner. So we're in alpha testing on it right now, which is including like Raspberry Pi and mobile interface. My best guess would probably be about a month.
Okay.
It may be sooner, right? It's for all intents and purposes, it's done. But also, please believe before it's live, I'm going to come on this group and say, hey, who wants to trial? Because we will need definite full, as much beta testing as we can get from this group of salty vets before we release it in the wild to newbies.
Yeah, that would be interesting to be able to try it.
Yeah. Mike
Definitely.
G raised his hand.
Hey, Patrick, I have a question. I know we were talking about last year that we were going to, starting January the 1st, all new kits were going to come with 15-foot chains. Is that correct? Because I have 3 people that are going to buy today.
Not yet. So they don't currently come with the 15-foot chains. So the difference here, the give and take, right, is we're essentially when we release with the 15-foot chains, we're just going to slightly increase the price by like $40 to account for the upgrade to the 15-foot chain. So it's going to be the same price whether they buy the kit today. It's just they're going to have extra chains if they decide to buy the 15-foot chains to do the larger frame in the future, right? But no, we don't have them yet, and that's primarily due to the shipping issues going on everywhere right now. So we ordered these chains forever ago, and we've got a container that was supposed to arrive 2 months ago that's still sitting at port. So the 11-foot adjustment is having to pivot because of global.
Another question is the people that like us that already have frames, are we gonna have to redo the frame for the specs
Nope.
of
Nope.
paint?
There will absolutely be, just like there is in the current Makerverse. If you just want to do your own version of a frame, or you've got your current version of the frame and you don't want to update it, it'll have all the same inputs that you have today. It'll just be, this will be an addition to make things easier for the new people who come in.
Okay, I see.
Yeah, anybody will be able to use 2.0. And actually, that was a point of contention before. We were at a place about a month ago where we were like, if you want to use 2.0, you're going to have to buy those colored chains. We're now in a place where that's not going to happen. And you all know my MO. I never want anybody to be forced into buying something if it doesn't work for them or it's not something they care to have. So cool. Any other questions on the chains, guys?
Yeah, I got a quick one. So what you're saying is all the slack for the chains is going to go onto the sled, right?
Yeah.
So
correct.
what does that do with the time for taking the sled on and off of the machine to do any maintenance or anything like that? Do you have some quick way of holding those chains so that they can slide out easily? Or are we just talking like zip ties? We just cut them every time?
Yeah, right now I'm just using a zip tie.
Okay.
That is a great point, Dustin. Any thoughts, guys? So what I do today is I pull this, I hang my sled up on my nail up top, and then I pull my slack through, put my cotter pin in, and then drop it right. And then I, roll up and bunch up my excess with a zip tie right there, and just hang it from the lowest point I can on the sled, so it doesn't get wound up in the obviously in the gear or anything. But we could just do those, on like this guy right here. We could just do like a little roll up Velcro tie, like these USB cables come with a lot, right? That would be an easy fix.
The easiest way to fix it, in my opinion,
Huh?
would be to have that the attachment point to the bearings that runs to the chain, or that attaches to the chain.
Mm-hmm.
Increase the size of that. The chain goes in and out of that hole. You then attach it through both. Then you zip tie, mark, and you never have to worry about it. It just goes in and out of that hole. It just loops in and out like a knuckle point or a pinch point.
Lauren, you make too much sense sometimes, man.
Another option would be to do kind of what he's saying, but just have some sort of a quick connect. So you sit there and you have the chain go through, pin it, goes in, and then just a simple pin. And then you could pull the pin, you undo the chain, you come back in, you put a pin back in. I mean, just something to be able to end up having it so that, like you said, you're not, because it is, I mean, I have a screw set, but I mean, that I can sit there and put in and to hold my sled in the center and do it, but something that you can quick release, reconnect.
I love it.
Do it.
I mean, think about it. So if you think about I don't have a bracket in here, a carriage bracket, but you think about those carriage brackets that hold the bearings, right? Okay, Lauren, I love your idea. So you create a U or a loop and then put the cotter pin through the end, and the hole in that bracket is just bigger so that it can accommodate the double loop. But if on the front plate of that, you also create a channel so that it's got like a tooth sticking out that it loops around, and then you could literally hang your sled, and then that you just like pull them forward towards you, and then you just drop them, right? That is an easy, quick release, and that you don't have enough weight. Those are steel carriage brackets. They're going to hold whatever, right? That's not going to be an issue, but you could then just like super easy drop them in and out.
Like my biggest concern, I do have a question about the chains.
Yeah.
How is that those colors applied to the chain? Are they just like how is that applied? Is that just paint or what?
It's like a mark. So in the factory, they literally just it's a very specific type of paint marker. So it's made to mark on steel. So like the wear and tear, like we've been testing that constantly, and so far it holds up. Yeah. Yeah,
because one of the first things I did when I refined my frame was I laid my chains out and marked every 10 links. Because when I was calculating everything, it was a lot easier to count by 10s than by ones. So
your eyes go cross pretty quick. I can attest to that.
It's easier that way. And I see the point with the chains, and I'm assuming if you have an extra large frame, there will be no slack, right?
No, there's still slack. it actually gives, so this is the interesting thing. So it actually gives you room. And this is why people are able to build a 10 by 5 by 10 frame in some instances, because you end up, if you see in that spreadsheet I had, you start for the XL frame on link number 72.
So what is the reason for all the excess?
Well, honestly, it was because when Maslow released the 15-foot chains way back in the day, we just kept rolling with the 15-foot chain. So it was like that gave people, again, back in the Maslow days, it was like there was just the ask, hey, I want to make my frame bigger. And Maslow's all about, cool, do whatever you want, right? Here's 4 extra feet of length. Whereas what we're doing today is like, okay, if I want to make an XL frame, we're defining what an XL frame is today. Yeah. They were just like, whatever, right? So now it's a good point. What we'll probably end up doing, Lauren, is just nixing 70 links and then making the XL frames start right there, right? So it's probably going to be more like a 14 or 13 and a half foot chain than a 15 going forward.
It makes sense. Yeah, when I saw that picture, I was like, I'm totally confused because I could have swore there'd been no slack on the extra large, because that was the whole point. Only reason why I was considering going to an extra large frame is that so there was no variance, because right now my machine is very accurate, but you get outside of that sweet spot and you get towards the edges, it'll start doing funky stuff. So as it is, I have a skirt all the way across the bottom, and I still don't cut closer than a foot to the edge of the frame. I always keep it well within a foot.
That's kind of my MO too, unless I go to one of the XL frames that we got in the office. Exactly.
So that's why I was considering moving it. And I was really liking Case's idea, basically, because I want to fold mine up to my garage roof. I basically want to attach it to my garage door frame, which is pretty beefy in itself, and just fold it up so that I can operate, just fold it down and start operating. But yeah, the only issue is sliding that material back and forth. The honest truth is, I think I've only cut one thing that was even remotely close to 8 foot across. 90% of my stuff, I've cut quite a bit of stuff right at 48 inches across, and a few that closer to 6 foot, but not a whole lot more than that. And so it's never been that much of a problem. What I was hoping to do was be able to do multiple cuts at a time. And right now I can't do that because I only have that space. So I have to divide those cuts up.
Yeah.
It's not a deal breaker. It's just, as I look to improve my machine.
For sure.
So 2 things on the design, folks. First, if you want a quick release for your sled, okay, there's only 2 reasons why you remove your sled. First, you want to work on your gearboxes or the springs or the tensioning system, right? In that case, you need to completely remove the sled from the frame. The reason why the new design I have puts all the slack at the end of the gearbox up there is because then I just have that single tension point. I pull one pin and the whole sled comes off. Okay, it's simple, easy peasy. Keep all of the slack up at the motor and off of the sled. Makes it way simpler. Number 2, the only other reason why you remove your sled from the frame is when you want to work on the Z-axis, or you need to work on something in the router, whatever it may be. In that case, Patrick, you have the frame, you have the metal stamped or the cut and bent frame, right? At the bottom of the frame, just make it probably 2 inches longer on the bottom, bend it sideways, have 2 holes, and then in the wood board, just drill 4 holes in the board in the sled and put a metal insert. And then all you have to do is put in hand knobs to tighten it down. So if I want to take my entire Z-axis off of my frame, I just go ahead and pull those 4 hand bolts with, the hand knobs on the top, like you see on, like these right here. These, right? You just pull those off and the entire Z-axis comes off the sled, and you can sit it on the table. And the sled and the chains and the ring all stay on the sled, on the front.
That's a cool
And
idea.
that's a very slight change to the current M2 tower that you have.
So the Z axis is attached from the top, not the bottom.
Okay, so here's what I'm talking about. Right now you have your Z axis right here, right?
Yeah.
It bolts onto these. So instead, get rid of these, take this Z axis tower right here, make it about 2 inches longer, and then bend it so it goes down and over here. Drill 2 holes and just have the company that makes the sled, have them just drill 2 holes and put in wood inserts, glue them in, 2 on each side. Then there is no adjustment. This right here and this is always in the center of this hole. You can measure that, engineer to where these holes, put this center every time. You don't have to worry about this beam. You put them in, and then you can just unscrew it, and this entire assembly right here comes off, and I can just put it on my table and I can work on it.
So I thought the reason those could slide back and forth so you can adjust your center was for the different sizes of routers. Is that not true?
But you can
It
still
is.
accommodate
It
what he's talking about with slotting instead of just holes in the metal.
No, you don't even have to put slotting. You can use 4 holes on each side. 2 holes are used for a 71 millimeter router. And if you move it the other direction, the other 2 holes that it lines up with are the 91 millimeter router.
But there's other diameters of router.
There is they're 1 millimeter off that will fit in the MakerMade clamps, right? So I mean, 1 millimeter at an 18-inch radius isn't going to matter.
The issue that I ran into, and so this is my only concern with that, Casey, is really my only major complaint that I've had with the machine has been my sled. My sled, when I opened it up, looked like it'd been used before. Like it already had scrape marks and stuff on it. Now, at the end of the day, like I had stuff to do, so I executed as it is. But yeah, even now, like I don't know why I didn't notice the other day, but my sled actually has a slight bow to it. It's not flat. The concern I would have is MakerMade's at a serious disposition if that sled is outsourced and they get those measurements off at all. Because you've seen like the effects of if your router, I mean, there's a reason why I purchased those centering jigs from you. If that router is not perfectly centered and you only have 4 holes, like you're at the mercy of that manufacturer. And I do understand what you're saying. We're trying to simplify it for users, but man, there is nothing more frustrating than when your router is not centered and you're trying to make good, precise cuts.
Mike actually found that happen when we launched this new version that Casey's showing you right here with this new stamped Z-axis. Mike was like, hey, I don't think your sled is aligned right. And the mount points for the L brackets for the ring were like slightly off. Like, can you imagine the tech support we would have gone through if something like that had actually gotten out of the wild?
Well, then in that case, you could have the 2 drilled holes in the sled, and in the metal stamped, the bent piece, have that slotted. So it moves forward or backward, maybe 2 inches, because 2 inches is going to be more than sufficient to meet 100%. Any router need, right? But I mean, that's just adding, I don't know, 2 or 3 inches to the bottom of each one of those. Then they're bent over with a slot cut in the Z-axis frame itself. But then, the sled, it wouldn't be that much to have for post-processing for an outside supplier to drill 2 holes and glue in 4 inserts. It can't be that expensive. I mean, those inserts, I buy them, at retail, I buy them, and those inserts are 80 cents a piece, right? So it's the post-processing, it'd be the labor. I don't know. I'm just thinking outside of the box. I know there's 2 reasons that I remove my sled. Number 1 is I don't need to remove the sled. I just need to remove the Z-axis. So that's a simple setup, right? Number 2, when I do need to remove the sled, it's because I want to take the weight off my chains That's why I left the slack at the top, and I just showed you how easy it was to pull that chain over so I could move the pin. I could literally right now, with the way this is, I can pull my 2 pins right here and let my chain hang here. And I don't have enough weight up here in my pulley system to actually be a danger. The weight of this chain right here is enough. It'll just dangle right here and stay on the teeth on the sprocket. I've been doing that for the past week and a half while I've been doing the testing. Anytime I remove that from there, I just pull 2 and I just let them dangle. It's that simple. The teeth on the sprocket on the chain on the motor, they take all the weight. They take all the tension. Or what I'll do is sometimes whenever I had the regular chain, I'll show you a little trick that I did. Whenever I had the big spring that went in between here, right? What I would do is I took a extra cotter pin and I pinched them together like this, and I stuck a cotter pin through right here. And it held the chain. Then I could pull this cotter pin and just let it dangle. And this is pinched so it doesn't come off. Then I never have to worry about the chain slipping off the sprockets. But that's why I don't like the extra excess chain at the end of my.
And when you do that, that's what, just for when you take off your sled, so the chain doesn't get off the sprocket. Is that correct?
Yep.
You don't even want to know how many times I have taken off my sled and it's always taken a sprocket.
Yeah, I mean, 2 90-cent cotter pins is what I use. I just go ahead and I pinch the chain together right at the sprocket, stick in a cotter pin that goes through both chains, do it on both sides. Then I can go over there and pull my pins and just let the chains dangle, and the chains don't jump on the sprocket. That's just a little operator tips and tricks kind of thing that I do, right? But like I said, then this new design here, when I'm done printing these, this chain will come all the way back. It'll go through here and it'll dangle here, and I'll probably have the excess chain rolled up here. You can see I got this much chain, so I'll probably have to roll up probably about this much chain, because right now I do have it centered on the home. So this right here is all I'll have to roll up, or I don't know, maybe someday, maybe I'll just get a chain breaker and remove it. I don't know.
Is there a reason why we haven't done some master links and these chains at each point?
Yeah, it's just really, so that's one of the few things that's really expensive to do. So
a master link chain. The master links are usually, like, if you buy your whole chain, right now, let's say you spend $15 for a 15-foot chain, right? If you want a master link, and I know this because this is something I do in the oil field quite a bit. If you want a master link, like every 3 inches on that chain, it'll almost triple the cost of the chain.
No, I get that, but you could literally add a master link close to the point, each one of those chains, those pinch points. You could add an extra 5. So you could add 3 master links to that chain. Total 3 master links. How much would that add? What, $3 to $4?
No, it'll almost triple the cost of the chain.
Yeah.
For 3 master links to be added to the chain?
Yeah, I know it sounds weird, but yes, because now you got post-processing assembly that the manufacturer has to break 3 chains to a specific length, then add those links, then reassemble the chain.
Okay.
And
Yeah, because I just looked up master links because I was like, I ain't gonna lie, like I'm listening to this conversation, and for me, I'm like, oh, that's cool. But at some point, being a tool guy, I like to buy tools, so I'll just buy the chain breaker and then add the master link. So if I want to move my chain, I just take it, because I looked at master links, they're like $2 a piece.
Yeah, the other challenge is the size of this particular chain too. It's not like a bike chain. So like you can go get a chain breaker for a bike chain, but we tried one of those on this thing and it just like mangled it.
Yeah.
No,
I did the same thing.
Sizes, but
so you know what, Patrick, that's something you guys should sell on the MakerMade website. You should have in your tools area, you should have a chain breaker. Yeah. And you should sell master links.
So You know, so we've been looking at that, Casey. My pushback on that has been like the chain breaker for this thing, it almost feels like, selling like an oyster shucker. I'm just super worried about people. I'm not finding like a huge like reason other than like aesthetics for it to exist. And I don't want somebody to come back and be like, I crushed my hand using your chain breaker or something. Like, that's my big fear. But anyway, yeah, we've got one we could sell, or I can just point people to a link and say, hands off, you all go get it, but it's not on me.
I mean, you say that, but
Yeah,
like,
I mean, this is.
I'm still trying to figure
is-
out the damage that these people are doing with their machines. Like, I follow the threads of the mistakes that people are making because I'm trying to figure out how, like, I've seen more and more like, oh, I hit the Z axis and then the machine just went nuts and now it's falling apart.
Yeah.
Because
But that's usually for like new people that are coming in that do not set home and do not reset their chains. They don't do the calibration. What's happening with that is that these people are setting up their frames and they just want to see it go. Okay.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But we all do that. The difference is I don't know if y'all need to insert a warning that says,
I think so.
If the machine does not stop after 3 seconds, do this and remove the chain. Because I did it to mine. I was that idiot, the same one, right? As soon as I got it together, I was like, let's see what it'll cut. No calibration. Threw a circle in there and started the cut. Because that's who I am, right? And guess what? It started to go haywire. I just walked up, grabbed the chain, popped it off the sprocket, and let the sprocket just do its thing. Like,
maybe like a big old orange sign in the box that says, please do not do nothing until it's calibrated, like a warning,
We also are going to add we're adding a feature to 2.0. We're adding a lot of safety features to 2.0 as well. That's one of my big pushes. Is just very simple.
Yeah.
Space bar e-stop. Slam the space bar and everything stops. Right. Very straightforward. So it's like, it's not a full e-stop, but it's at least a partial. Right.
I mean, I don't know. I watch the chat all the time and I'm just like, there's a lot of frustration I see on the page.
Man, yeah. It really comes down to the current version of MakerMade.
Yeah. So here's the other side to that, folks. I think a lot of times people they might have it set in inches and they want to move in millimeters. And they go in there and they put in, I want to move 200 millimeters. And it's set at inches. They click it. It runs all the way up, slams into the beam, and they turn around. This is a piece of shit. Well, you didn't have it set in millimeters and not in inches, right? So
that was me when
200 millimeters versus 200 inches is a big difference. But you ask them that, nope, it was set correctly. And then you see them turning in a ticket. Warranty, I want a new ring. It's like, okay. I actually seen a couple of posts. There was a post a month or a month and a half ago where somebody posted that and they had it literally, it was in the post. It said, yep, this just happened. And he shows his ring all mangled up and the ring was tore off the board. And he goes, I tried to move 200 millimeters. And in the picture is his computer down in the corner. I zoomed in on it and said 200 inches. So I didn't want to berate the guy by saying, hey, check your measurements, right? Make sure you're adjusted right. But I know that probably 80% of the time, maybe even 90, that's what it is. Because I've done it myself. I click it. Oh, crap. Now I have to hit stop or reset, right? Because I wanted 200 millimeters and the damn thing was set on inches.
What's up, John?
So I think a lot of our problems where you see these crashed frames or frames where they ran off the side, or I've even seen them to where the sled was sucked up to the motor. And all I could think was, moving from the center of the board over there takes about 10 minutes, man. The thing moves like molasses across the board. It took you 10 minutes of panic to finally do something, and then you let it crash and it still happened. Come on. These are people that are walking away from their sled. They don't have their settings correct in their system. That's just my 2 cents.
What's up, John?
So, thought. So I know that end up using the Arduino control board and there ends up being the top hat that ends up being on top of that. Is there any way to just automatically have it integrated that it just comes with an e-stop? It's pretty common on a lot of systems already. I mean, X-Carve has it. A lot of other various controllers already have an e-stop. And then going to the second one, can't we just make it so that the system runs in millimeters? Choose a measurement. I mean, instead of giving the option and end up saying somebody accidentally sends a system, 200 inches up instead of 200 millimeters up. Yeah, I mean, I know here in the States, but we have a lot of people that end up being overseas wise. It's not that difficult to be able to convert. Not that difficult to be able to end up being in millimeters. You just give the person not the option to not run the machine in anything but millimeters, and then you don't have the instance where it doesn't go 200 inches off to one direction.
Right. So yeah, we've actually we onboarded a new software engineer, and we're working on the e-stop option. So that's definitely going to be coming.
I mean, at the end of the day, I've gotten very good at multiplying and dividing by 25.4. That's all I'm saying. I'm American through and through, and man, and my wife, if I tell my wife, hey, we're doing it this many millimeters, she would look at me like I had something growing on my forehead.
Right. I worked in a metric machine shop for years. I mean, that was over 20 years ago, but it was a common thing. They didn't have, and it was here in the States, and they did not have a single inch measurement, not a caliper, not a gauge, nothing. Every single thing was in metric. You had to bring your own in if you wanted inches, and they wouldn't certify if it was inches.
Yeah. I went out and bought tape measures that are millimeter. I went out and bought rulers. I went out and did all of that because of this, my investment into CNC, and now it is what it is. I just got very good at doing math at 25.4. So it's not that complicated.
5.4, baby. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just, I don't know.
It's just making you use that little part of the brain you never used before.
I joined the military, so I didn't have to. But no, it's interesting. It's like Casey said, like, you don't want to be an asshole to them, and so you try to feel for them, but they come off. Well, I've seen in the last 2 months, I feel like everybody's coming at Mike like, oh, nobody's helping me on this stupid thing. This thing's a piece of trash, and I'm just like, how do I? Because for what it is, you're not going to find a better deal for what this machine is. So how do you convince them? And I say this, like, working with Casey, like, we just bought a smaller version of a gantry machine for my shop to do some of the smaller stuff while I'm running the larger stuff on the M2. And trust me, that smaller machine, it was probably 8 hours of assembly time. Yeah. So go ahead. Tell me how much you're about to go to a gantry machine and do it so much better. Like, it's not, because I put together the M2 in about 3 hours.
Yeah. So you're gonna keep getting more hints at it and stuff. We've got our version of a gantry machine coming. Not done. But
Well,
we've got a version coming.
Well, I'm excited to see what it brings. I just think there is an absolute market. I think we're heading in the right direction with a fold-up machine. And it was like I told my wife, like, eventually, just because of who I am, I would like to design, like, me and Casey's kind of mentored me on it. Like, I'd like to design my CNC, a CNC from start to finish, because I find things that I like and I find things that I don't like, and it'd be fun to build my own. But when it comes to the business, the balance of it, once I get, closer to the end of my career and I put in like an actual full shop, I'm more than likely going to have a couple of gantry and a couple of M2s all running at the same time to efficiently do what I need to do. There is some concerns, like I said, like, looking back, like, I know I spoke with Drew last week, like, the roller bearings in the machine aren't built up. It looks like I'm gonna have to replace the roller bearings on the Z-axis. Mine have already got quite a bit of play in them. The board, like, it would be better. Like, I'm already replacing my board, my sled this year, with my own cut sled, because the one that came with the machine it's proven to be not as effective. So there's always going to be problems, but let's be honest, like,
Did you have pictures of it, of your sled when you first got it, before you even used it, with it, like, all the scratch marks and all that?
No, they're still there. Like, it's on the face of it. It's not on the back. It's on the face of it. Like there's the M2 where the paint was. It was like all scratched and stuff. But I needed to get it running, so I just went with it. I didn't realize there was a bow. I thought it was my poor backing. Like I thought maybe the material I purchased wasn't flat. And I kept going, no, I flattened this. This one's absolutely perfect. And then I realized my machine was rocking side to side by about 1 millimeter. And yeah, I mean, it's 1 millimeter. It's not hurting me in the final cut. It's too easy to clean up. But I thought I kept trying to figure out what did I not have calibrated? What did I mess up?
Yeah.
And it was actually the board. So there's issues, but at the end of the day, it's $1,000. Like even like you're not gonna beat it because even my Gantry machine cost me $2, and it's half the size. So yeah.
Yeah.
So imagine this. Imagine
I'm trying to
this.
figure out from your standpoint, like how do you attack the problem without attacking the person? Because let's be honest, the modern person is not prepared to receive criticism. It's not.
Hey, I take that personally.
They do. You tell them, look, like I've tried to explain it to people, like I usually do it on a page so it doesn't start an argument, but I try to people, look, it's garbage in, garbage out. Like that's the old adage has applied since the creation of machines.
Yeah.
And there's a good chance you did something you wasn't supposed to do. Quit blaming it on the machine. The only adage I will say is this, that MakerMade needs to fix. The Gantry machine that I just finished building was so happy that I didn't have to do it. And that is with the Arduino. When I plugged in the board from my new machine and started running it, it ran instantly. The build and all that kind of stuff, yes, took time, but the fact that the board was prepped upon arrival for plug and play, that was amazing. At the end of the day, y'all will not be able to get rid of calibration because the way the machine works, the algorithms, it's gonna have to be calibrated. And to be fair, any good machine you're gonna have some calibration to it. But I do see a lot of people hung up on the, what do you call it? Not wiping the board, the formatting the board and
The firmware.
the firmware is getting the firmware onto the board and getting it running, because it does change and it turns a lot. In fact, it's open source. You're constantly searching for the latest firmware and getting it right.
Yeah.
So if there was a way we could do that before it shipped, you would probably, you'd make at least 50% of your customers a lot happier, because I see it a lot. And I know that's what Mike has to do a lot, is do that firmware portion for them, or they have to get help with it.
Yeah.
So imagine this. You were just talking about your new Gantry CNC, your 4x4, right? And you were talking about having your M2 off to the side, or a couple of M2s cutting on a 4x4 area, right, Lauren? Imagine a Gantry M2.
I mean, I definitely see it. I definitely see exactly what you're talking about, because I see both having an occurrence. But at the end of the day, it's going to drive the cost, because most of the people that are coming to get the M2, unfortunately, you can't have your cake and eat it too. You just can't. Like, the money's got to go where it's got to go. Now, there is companies out there that are going to charge you a obscene amount of money just so they can do it. But you save money on the M2 because it's not a Gantry machine.
Yeah, and even like say for instance the Gantry machine, I'm just throwing out a number. Even if it's $3,000, I'm just saying for this new one that the MakerMade is coming up with, you're still for a 4x8 Gantry, you cannot beat that.
Oh no, the cheapest 4x8 I found on the market is like $8K, and that's trash.
Yeah, you can't beat that. You know, even if they market it for 4,000, I would pay for it for a 4x8 sheet, and it's a Gantry. Yeah. I would pay for it. You know, $3,500, $4,000 versus $8,000, $10,000. That's just me. You know,
but you're still talking about. I mean, I don't know. It's like, how do you never make everybody happy, but how do we as a community come together to beat at least 75% of the complaints? It's that 25% is always going to be there, and they're going to fight it tooth and nail, and they're going to be the first ones to come on board and be like, who wants to buy this piece of shit? But
so here's the reality. Here's the reality of that. This is a DIY machine, and it takes a lot of DIY. We all know that, right? That's why we bought into this machine. This is what we do. When you look in reality to multi-billion-dollar companies, Ford, GM, they have hundreds of thousands of complaints about their products every year. Okay. It doesn't matter what you design. It doesn't matter what product you sell. You're going to have end users that are unhappy with the product because of something you've done, because of something they've done. But realize that on a DIY system like this, to where it takes you to build a frame, right? That's where I think 99% of the problem in the users groups are today. Their frame is not square. Their offsets are not correct. That's always going to mess with calibration. So just simply having the end user build a frame and then attach mechanical components to it to try to get less than 1 millimeter accuracy is very, very, very tough. So the reality is people buy into this thinking it's plug and play, but it's sold as a DIY unit. But they look past that and they just think they're going to buy it. They're going to start pumping out parts and making a bunch of money. It doesn't work like that. So you're never going to get rid of that. I mean, that's just the way it is in my.
So I think these are the same in terms of how I like pitch to investors and things like I always say these are the same conversations that were happening at like Apple and Microsoft 30, 40 years ago, right? It's that computers were too complicated to use. They didn't get enough done and they cost a ton of money. Like who can afford to use these things? Somebody had to break the mold to say, oh, we can actually make these things affordable, accessible, extremely capable at scale, right? That's what we're trying to do here. And I think the way that we're going to get there, or the way that somebody's going to get there, is the method that we're relying on, which is let's have these conversations with the folks who are actually using the machine and let them be the ones that steer the direction, right? This is how I get information that determines future design for our products. And I don't see that happening enough elsewhere. I think all these other competitors that we have, the X-Carves and the like, they're actually trying to take a mass market or existing market and move them upstream into more industrial style CNC. That's not actually what people are looking for, though. They're looking for something that's accessible, that's affordable, and that they can pick up in 2 to 3 hours, Lauren, like you said, and not spend 8 hours setting it up or 8 hours trying to calibrate it after you set it up, right?
Like with mine, my 150 that's back there, I set it up in 20 minutes.
Did you really? That's awesome.
It's literally 1, 2, 3, 4 spots, and of course then all the what is it called? The dust collecting that takes a little longer. It was a little longer for me to do all that, but
yeah. Like, but how much did you spend on that?
I spent almost 3K on it.
And what's the cutting area?
I told my girl I spent 1,000 on it. 1K.
Yeah, and how much cutting area does it have?
Huh?
How much was the cutting area?
32 by 32.
Yeah.
That's it. You know.
Well, yeah, but you bought yours. You bought yours, and that company puts a lot into post processing by doing most of the assembly for you. So yeah, it was fast to assemble. You paid twice as much for a smaller cutting area.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I mean, me and Lauren were talking about the ones that we have. It'll cut a 48 by 48. Okay, so it's a 4 by 4. We might have only spent 15 to $2,000 on it, but it's larger than the one that you had at half the cost. Right.
And a lot of assembly time.
It comes down to DIY. Do you want to put the time in to build a unit, or do you want to just throw a couple of bolts in, throw the computer on, and start cutting? You pay for convenience.
Here's a question that y'all may not want to. Who's designing the gantry for MakerMade?
The main man.
Because there's a lot of lessons learned when I was putting my new gantry together. Right? What's the size of the gantry we're looking at? If we can, I don't know if this is
it's a 4 by 8 cutter.
Okay, so is it designed like a standard gantry design, or is it built off algorithms as well?
It is. No, it carries the benefits of the M2. It's
okay.
What I can tell you all is it is vertically oriented,
right?
And it is enclosed, and it comes with multiple modules baked into it in the box, milling, laser, and free play to allow you to attach a pin or a drag knife or anything else you want. All three of those modules occur at the same time. It's not one module at a time. And it will be able to accommodate surface variance. So you won't have to do any of that surface planing work or anything
Is the
else.
sled gone?
Yes.
That's okay.
It is truly a gantry. It's just the gantry points up and down.
No, it makes sense because I assumed that's the direction, but I didn't know. I just
Yeah. We've got, so we're in the middle of filing some utility patents on it, is where we are right now. We've got 3 utility patents baked into it at this point. And the plan is to launch somewhere between July and
You're carrying off there, Patrick.
he planned it so we wouldn't be recorded.
Perfect timing.
actually,
Patrick.
He's pretending to be frozen right